There we go. I think I fixed the intro music finally. Yay. It had like that weird pause and yeah, I finally fixed it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Vinecast. I know it's been a while since we've spoken to you after the Ivies season ended. Which, by the way, shout out to the front office staff. I think they put the graphic out there for the total attendance. It was like what 48K, something like that. I know it was a high number, right? What was it?
I think it was like 21.
21. Okay, there you go. I don't know what my math is. I'm not a math teacher, so I don't know these numbers. Yeah, I know it was high.
Like, 28.
There we go.
28,866. 4,800 per game. So close. That's where the 48.
There you go. Okay, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah, I mean, that's impressive for like a first year women's pre-professional. Yeah, we make sure we got to say pre-professional. Pre-professional soccer team here in the River City. It's pretty cool. What was your thoughts on it? Like the whole first year of the Ivy. I know there's not the season wrapper, but.
I mean, it to me, it was fantastic to see that kind of a turnout in the first season. I mean, I just remember the first couple of games, just electric every time you went to City Stadium. And I know that every team that came to City Stadium had a bit of a culture shock because, when we're able to catch footage of some of those other games live, barely anyone in the stands. They maybe have a few hundred people. And for us to be knocking almost 3,000 plus per game at the lowest level, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And I mean, hopefully it can only go up from here. They had a pretty decent first season, win some, lose some, draw some. And that's okay. It's their first season in this league. Now we see what the competition is. Now I think Kim knows exactly what to prepare for next year. And I have no doubt that Kimmy's going to be more than ready next year to take it to this conference.
Yeah, for real. So, Kate, I will gladly pass the baton over to you because you are the leader of this rodeo. So, what you have on me?
Yeah, so we got 3 games that we're going to cover today because there was a bit of a run in there. And apologies, I was back home and very busy on the weekends. So we wanted to make sure that we gave these last 3 games the recaps they deserved. And this is, for the first time, a win, loss, draw podcast where we got one of each result to talk about. But on the whole, I think it was a pretty tough run-in, I'd say. Christos did beat us at home, and then the 2 top teams in the division. But I wouldn't say, despite one of them being a loss, one of them being a draw, I would say the team gave a pretty good account of themselves across all 3. So not a sad pod for the results, just a sad pod because there won't be any more games to recap for the rest of the summer.
That's how you turn it. That's how you look at the positives.
So first up, just briefly touching on a few things from the Christo. This game was not streamed because it turns out there was a last-minute location change, like an hour before kickoff or something. So that is why there was no stream for the game. Disappointing. So, and we didn't really get much footage of the game from. It was searched. No highlights were found, unfortunately. But a few key takeaways I identified. It was a pretty strong starting 11 and a pretty strong bench, despite it being away. This was one of the closer away trips, but still, we haven't necessarily seen a strong team top to bottom when traveling away. So that was nice to see. No first half goals, which we did see a lot from the Ivy, and they conceded 1 goal in the first half. We don't know when. We don't really know under what circumstances. But the great news was they did equalize quickly after the second half began in the 50th minute through who else but Kana Matsuhisa. From the clip that was posted, Hannah Heaton played it back to Ava, pushed over on the wing. Ava one-touched it down the line for Kana to run onto. Kana ran past her mark and hit it low and hard to the back post, 1-1. So you love to see that. And then the last thing was Hannah Heaton was then the player of the match. And I think she's had a really great season. So you love to see different players sort of recognized throughout the season as players of the match. And she kind of got the hockey assist on that one. So I bet she had a great game. If she was named player of the match, would have loved to see it for myself. And then the last thing is shout out Keely Thomas, who was one of the goalkeeper. This was her first appearance of the season. She came on in the 84th minute. Her father in the Facebook group shared that she got a concussion before the season began, and she was finally cleared to play before this one, so was able to get her first and only appearance for the Ivy. And we also got a little more intel from him, which is he also let us know that that's for a similar reason. That's why we never got to see Jill Flamia this season. She got injured right before the season started. She actually had to get surgery, so we did not get to see her play this season because that was.
That's fine. Her sister did the job.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, she definitely left an impression on me with especially a couple of games where she bossed the midfield.
Yeah,
so
sister was dope.
So hopefully, maybe we'll get to see Jill next season if she stays healthy. But that's really tough. I'm sure she was really excited about playing. So you really hate to hear that. The one sort of discussion point, this is the first draw, and this was the first time that the Ivy actually came back from being a goal down to earn a result. Maybe a little late in the season, but a good learning experience. Obviously, there's not a lot to dig into in this one because we didn't get to see it. But any thoughts from anyone else on?
No, I mean, I think getting a result after going behind is a good step because all season it had been whoever scores first wins the game, right?
Yeah.
I think it was literally every single game. Whoever scored first, that was it. It was just a matter of, is it going to be close or is it going to be a blowout? Other than the other Christos game, that was literally the story of the season. So without actually having seen any of the game, presuming that there's the good fight back and whatnot, good to see that outcome, minus the whole falling behind part.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a good result for them. I think they lost the reverse fixture to them. Am I right? Yeah, so it's good to see like they were able to get this one over them, and keep pressing. I'm happy for them. I'm sad to see the season done, but yeah, I'm happy for them.
Yeah, and a draw, first and only draw of the season. So yeah, it goes to show. Yeah, to Matt's point, like there's not a lot of equilibrium in this league. Teams win or they lose, and there really weren't too many draws, I think, throughout the division. So
yeah, no. It's either like you're really like blowing a team out, or you're like losing like really close. That's kind of the scale in this league that I've seen so far, which is wild.
Yeah. So then, just 2 days later, the Ivy played Eagle FC at home, the top team in the league. I was not at either of the final 2 home games. The atmosphere looked absolutely electric. So for any sort of in-person takeaways, y'all please take it away. But I was able to rewatch this one, the Lancaster game. I don't know if you did not see it live. It was taken down due to copyright infringement on YouTube. So that's unfortunate. Maybe I don't know what the front office will have to do to rectify that.
That's a Maddie question. We gotta ask her that. Like, Maddie, what song was playing?
what song got flagged?
Just cut halftime out. Yeah. Who's rewatching halftime?
Nobody.
So sick of sitting there playing down the playlist like, this is a copyright. This is a copyright straight.
Major boo YouTube. But the excitement in the Eagle match was all in the first half, and first half goals were not always easy to come by for the Ivy. So good to see against a top opposition 2 first half goals to put the game away pretty early. I mean, 22nd minute for your second goal, pretty early. Anyone want to talk through the first one, Kylie Fitzgerald's goal in the 5th minute?
I'm trying to remember exactly because now I'm getting that mixed up with the Lancaster goal. So if you go through it, I can exactly tell you how I remember.
Yeah. So on the rewatch, it looked like a great corner routine. like that actually looked like this was pre-planned. I don't know how many arms kind of stuck up in the air, but this one looked like a pretty well worked one where really high lofted ball into the middle of the 18. A bunch of players were sort of at the top of the box, whacked towards the goal. Kylie was actually on the goal line, and she turns and hits it on the turn into the goal, and banger.
Yeah, so I didn't see this one live because I was dealing with traffic. I was literally walking through the gate, and I heard the crowd go up, and I was like, oh, well, that sounds good. And then I heard the PA guy lose his mind, do his thing. So, the fact that the crowd is boisterous enough to be able to kind of signal to somebody who's not even watching what's going on, good sign. But based on seeing the replay, and this seems like almost a carbon copy of the other goal that Kylie scored at home against Christos, where she's right there able to kind of pick up the loose ball inside the 6-yard box and just beat other girls too, and just slam it home. Not necessarily a hard finish, but a good reactionary finish, and they all count the same. So good on her.
So now that I've seen the goal again, I had to go back and rewatch it. Let me ask you a question, Kate. Like, is this the same Eagle team we lost to?
Yeah, 2-0. 2-0 in the reverse fixture.
It didn't seem like it. Like, watching this game in person, I got frustrated. I got more frustrated with the Ivy because I'm like, yo, there's no way how we lost this. Because it looked like the only player from Eagle that was capable of doing anything was, I think, number 22.
I think it was 24, yeah.
Yeah, 24. Like, the rest of the Eagle team, and I'm not trying to shade or anything, but I'm assuming that was probably Eagle's strongest squad.
Yeah, I looked at the pretty similar starting 11s for both the Ivy and Eagle in both of these games. Like, I was expecting to see a difference for Eagle, and there was not. And there wasn't much of a difference for Ivy, actually, either.
No, and I'm so confused as to how, like, because against Lancaster, like, all right, it's kind of even, it's kind of comparable. Like, we know there's a jump to get to where Lancaster is, right? Like, Christos, all right, both teams are kind of even, so those games can go either way. With Eagle, it seemed like we got steamrolled, and it was like, oh, they're just a better team. And then they come to Richmond, it's like, this is almost like playing, what's their name? The team from 301, Production from Maryland. Like, that's how it felt.
That's a little rude.
But it was just like the ease of how, like, because Ivy had so much possession. Like, it was like multiple times. They were literally like, because
the end of the first half, it was like Eagle didn't touch the ball for like 10 straight minutes.
No. And it was just so wild to me of how, like, we lost to them in the reverse fixture 2-0. But yeah. No, the goal by Kel, it was a good goal. It took a weird deflection, so like the goalkeeper couldn't move. But I mean, that's what you do. You're in the middle of the box. You literally hit it and just hope and pray. Hit the back of the box.
Yeah.
Right.
And then 22nd minute, Taylor Berry gets on the score sheet to make it 2-0. What I love to see is that was the first goal was off a set piece, and then the second one's out of open play. And Cam Simmons in the middle of it all, ball played down the air. I think from whoever was on the back. I'll scroll down and check who that was. But played down in the air to Cam on the left wing. She receives. She cuts back a few times, loses her defender, puts in a great cross right at head height. And Taylor Berry was kind of unmarked. Like, she was kind of between a few defenders and just she didn't have to do much to get it. She just redirects it right in. And then, I mean, that celebration looked great. She turned and ran straight over to section home.
She learned. Yeah, man. All right. So I know y'all gonna kill me for this, and that's fine. My prediction about Cam was wildly wrong. I got to see one of those live. Hey, look, I had high hopes. All right, I did. But no, I mean, you can see it. Like, Cam's like one of those few players, and maybe she is a winger more so than a striker. But you can tell, like, she looked so comfortable out there on that wing. Like, it was like literally she could do whatever she wanted on that wing to anyone. And for her to, it's weird because it was almost like a basketball move. Like, she literally went back to the top of the 18-yard box. It was like, oh, you know what, whatever. I'm gonna run it back down. And the defender just got stuck. It just lost it to the place where Barry was, just like wide open. Yeah, it was different. it was different.
Yeah, I definitely do feel that maybe her positioning needs to be rethought for next year. Because, like you said, she was so comfortable out there. And like you said, she was seriously she was toying with the fullbacks out there for large portions of the game. And just on this goal, just the way she cuts back is just unexpected by the defender. So for her to be able to do things like that out on the wing, you know that there's a lot more space out there. There's a lot more room for her to maneuver. If she's in the middle, it's a lot more crowded. There's defenders on both sides, all four sides most of the time. So she does not have the ease to be able to move around the way she did on the wing in this game. So we might have to rethink formation, might have to rethink where we place her. But I mean, all in all, just a fantastic, fantastic goal. Just very well taken cross. And the header, like Taylor just got herself ready for it. She's unmarked and she just put her head on it and just redirected it to goal. There's nothing goalkeeper could have done about that one.
Yeah, I would have said it was probably the best Ivy goal of the season, but we have the next game to talk about where I think that trophy lands ultimately. But yeah, it's really real work play all around. That's a header that is a good finish, but it's also one you see missed a lot. Right, it wasn't necessarily complicated, but you see that either flown way over because you just don't get your head at the right angle, or pushed wide, for any reason,
or right in the goalkeeper's hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so lots of things that could have gone wrong. So a lot of credit there for getting the job done that needed to be done in that moment. And yeah, at that point, you feel really good, with that 2-0 scoreline, so early on.
Yeah. And you could tell Eagle as a team are not used to also being in the position of sort of that 1-2 punch. I think that probably contributed to why they looked so out of ideas for pretty much the entire rest of the first half. Because how often have they found themselves in a losing position, let alone 2 goals down, let alone only 20 minutes into the first half of a game? So
their reaction, they had the little team huddle, at the top of the box, reminded me a lot of kind of the Ivy reaction after the third goal up in Winchester at that game, where it's like, oh, we just got kicked in the teeth. We actually got to do something this game. We can't just waltz in here and boss this like we think we're going to.
Yeah.
And it's hard to turn that mentality actually around.
Yeah. And then one last thing for Cam for me is I do think she looks great on the wing. I think it's tough because she's been moving between the two positions, but she hasn't had the time to build the chemistry like some of the other players do. And I think chemistry in the box in particular is probably one of their biggest areas for growth. I mean, most teams need chemistry. Their chemistry is not as good sort of in the final third and in the 18 as they'd like. That's why scores are not 15-12 in every game. But I think she didn't get as much time as some of the other players to build chemistry in either position. So she was kind of thrown into each one, but maybe didn't have the time that a lot of the other players did to sort of build up their relationships with the central midfielders, with the other attacking players. So maybe next season, if she gets a few more games, she's obviously international break aside, but she missed a few other than that maybe that helps as well. Cause you could just tell her composure on the ball, her speed, her decision-making kind of sets her apart from a lot of the other players on the field. So I think chemistry often plays a big role in.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it's how can I try? Is the main difference between like the women's team? Like the women's team plays better when they don't have a focal point. Like they don't have like a target number 9 or someone just stands in the number 9 spot. Like they play. I remember they played some of their best games, but they were just really fluid and like Kai or Taylor or whomever like supposed to be the super cool number 9 is just moving around, or Cam versus the mid, whereas like they need a focal point, like they need someone who they can drill the ball to and play off of that. But I mean, literally, you saw all the best. I wish this game was the last game versus the Lancaster game, because it's like you saw all the best qualities of the Ivy team, and you really saw them progress, like from a team that could only truly like just go. It can never really sit in position and pull teams apart and play that kind of intricate play to that, like in that Eagle game. But yeah, Matt, to your point too, like Eagle kind of, I wonder how much the crowd like really threw them off, because we heard Cammy talk about it a lot. Like they go to some stadiums, it's like they got to bring their own energy, they got to play up, because it's like it's so quiet out there. It's kind of like being, I hate to say it, like in a youth setup. But they mentioned a lot of the times, like in the post-game interviews, about like when teams come here, it kind of takes them like 10, 15 minutes to adjust. And I wonder like how that has thrown a lot of those Eagle players off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially combined with getting the goal, like all that stuff. Like maybe if
the first 30 minutes, you could tell they were just like, "Oh, what is this?"
Yeah, like maybe if the Ivy had scored first against Lancaster, maybe they're at a similar sort of. But
yeah, I don't know how much I buy that in this scenario, just because. And I'm not going to pretend like I've gone back and looked at last year's rosters, but Kate, you've told us that Eagle made it all the way to the national semifinals or something like that, last year. And so this is a team that's seen some stuff. Like they've been in big game scenarios. I'm a lot more pro to be able to say that Ivy came out and proverbially kicked them in the teeth rather than the crowd flustered them in some way.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Oh, I'm just wondering, like that was part of it as well. Like you're down 2-0. You got like this, 5K people behind you. The Ivy are like playing probably their best game of the season. You're kind of just like looking around like,
yeah, they needed halftime to regroup. I did think Eagle looked a lot stronger in the second half, but they didn't necessarily demand too much of Lauren. They just definitely looked stronger. They came out. They shook that off a little bit in the second half. And I feel like so in the first half, and similar to the Lancaster game, Ivy were pressing. And at this level, a press is such a surefire way to be the better team. Because at this level, like so few players really have the ability to keep the ball under, just someone pushing on their shoulder, stabbing their foot in. So I think Eagle came out and they were the ones pressing a lot more in the second half. And it's just the simple fact it's a lot easier to dispossess someone than it is to keep the ball. So, and it's easy to either take a bad touch or have them misplace a pass. And when you're the team in possession being pressed, your players are looking to lose their mark and get wide. So then you force a turnover and all of a sudden they've totally lost their marks and they can't necessarily instantly reverse press right back because they've just been trying to lose their mark. Yeah. So it's like not a hack, but if you're the team who is pressing, you're going to look better. It's just hard for teams to switch back and forth between those roles, I think, because you need that time to set. It is a skill to press well. And I think the Ivy, when they've pressed well, that's been one of their most successful. They've pressed badly at times and they've bad when they've done so. But when they press well, I
think that was what the Lancaster second goal. We saw a bad press. We were like, oh, I think there was a lot of space there in the second goal.
Yeah, just the disjointedness. And so I think players like Kana and Sarah, who have such assured, tight, composed touches, they are your sort of keys to breaking a press because they some of Sarah's turns out of pressure or Kana's ability to receive the ball and make her move so quickly, like turn and immediately start dribbling or immediately pick a forward-looking pass. You just see how
is Kana's real position. Because I didn't see her play from center back, fullback, CDM, center mid, center attacking mid, striker, winger. I think she's played every position this season, outside of goalkeeper.
Give her a shot.
Position?
I don't know. I think she goes back and forth between central midfielder, whatever that means to her, and winger.
So she's the Scott. So she is the Chandler Dwyer of the Richmond Ivy.
With a better touch, I think.
Probably. Yeah. There you go. Probably with a little bit more pace too, in terms of at least comparable to her peers.
But yeah, Kana, man, it was a joy to watch her. The last two games, she was arguably one of the better players on the field. You can tell.
Yeah. USL clubs, please. Someone, please. Carolina Ascent, are you watching? DC Power, are you watching?
She got one more year at VCU.
Yeah.
So all right. Realistically, Cam probably not coming back. Like
This is a next week conversation, Elliot.
I'm sorry, but I was just thinking now. Like, is there any chance we can convince her to come back, Connor? Like, realistically,
I hope so. Like, we'll see. I mean, because
she might have something to prove.
It's a next week conversation, but I was just thinking it. Like, is there any chance we can? Like, how many carry top burgers and fries coupons do we have to give her? That's the simple deal. My fault. Okay, I'll let you take it.
The last thing I just want to shout out, Lauren obviously did not have a lot to do in this game. They didn't really have that many actual shots. But she made a great save in the 63rd minute. She'd come out, she'd cleared the ball from outside the box, and the player just about, 10-ish seconds later, shot from distance, and she pushes it over the bar. Shot kind of came out of nowhere. And then the ensuing corner, she just grabbed the ball out of the air. I think that was probably Eagles' best opportunity, and Lauren just not having much to do, able to pull out both an out of the box clearance, then immediately a great save, and then immediately grab the ball off the corner and have that play die right there. Just wanted to shout out her staying on her toes, staying aware, despite really not having that much danger.
Yeah, she didn't have a ton to do, but there's probably that 5 to 10 minute spell in the second half when Eagle, I don't want to say turned it on because that might be a little generous to them, but they actually started to threaten, just like it saw her, unless it's just a horrific mismatch like a Patuxent level, like teams are going to have chances, and this was kind of their spell, and the fact that Laura was able to come up in that moment, but also the defense was able to stay organized. Like, that's been an issue at times over the course of the season, and we made reference to this earlier, like I think 24, 22, whatever her number was. She looked like she was playing like central attacking mid-ish, girl with the long braids. Like, she looked like she was there to play, and she was giving us a lot of problems. The rest of them, like, looked like they were like, all right, well, half an hour more, and then we get to go home finally. Let's move on, with this. So, like, when they were able to corral 20, I was going to go with 24. I hope I'm remembering right. Like, there were times where she would dribble one or two, but then the third or fourth Ivy player was able to come in and either clean it up or force her to pass the ball away to somebody else who, well, I'll be generous and say just didn't have it on this day.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So if she wants to spend next summer in Richmond, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Player of the match was then Taylor Berry. I think that was well deserved for a great headed goal, and she's worked really hard all season. She's also been a player. She's played sort of in that wing role. She's played down the middle, depending on where she's needed throughout the season. I think she got 3 goals on the season. So great shift, great recognition of Taylor and all her hard work. Any last thoughts on this one against Eagle before we get into a lot more goals to cover in the game against Lancaster?
It's a really good way to start that weekend, because it was a doubleheader weekend. Kickers had a game the following night. Go back and listen to that podcast to hear all the great things about that one. But yeah, Friday night games, kind of liked it. The weather was great, and huge crowd, and girls went out there and had their best game of the season. I don't think there's any real argument that could possibly be had about that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, and this brings us to, sadly, the final Ivy game of the season.
Do we have to talk about it because there's no footage of this game?
There's none. Yeah.
It actually didn't exist. This game was never played. We put the details of the two teams into AI, and this is what the
exactly. Let's focus on how Lancaster lost 4-0. Let's focus.
See how they like it.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll
exactly.
think twice next time when they score 4 against us.
Right.
At least, okay, I will say the final score 4-2. Don't love that, but each half was only 2-1, and that sounds less bad.
That is the complete of drawing the positives out of something I've never heard of.
So that's some spin right there.
That is some elite level spin. 2-1 not as bad as 4-2. You know, that
4-2 sounds lopsided. 2-1, they were in it the whole way.
There is still footage out here because I'm going back through my Twitter timeline, and most importantly, there's footage of the goal that made it 1-1 that Hannah scored, because for me, Ivy goal this season.
Want to talk through it? Just tell us what you're seeing.
1 second, let me pull it back up from the start, so that way I have the right people. No surprise here. Everything starts with Kana Matsuhisa. Cutting in from roughly 18 yards out, near the sideline, really just getting inside her defender, and I think it was Maddie Vincent, makes kind of a crossing run, so she's up ahead, looks to be able to pull some space out, cuts inside the box, kind of really just kind of knifes, a pass, and there's, a slight diagonal pass, but against her own grain. So I think it's a little bit, tougher pass than you might think initially. But that run that Maddie's making opens the middle up, and Heaton's able to just slide in there, ends up roughly right around the penalty spot, a couple yards in front of the penalty spot, and just first time slots it right inside the near post. Perfect pass, perfect finish. From there, really just a well executed goal. And on a season where even in this game we saw Ivy score on some goalkeeper errors / lack of confidence plays. This was a full on, well worked goal. Looks like it's almost straight off the training ground, not from a set piece. It's not anything. It's free flowing. It is something that really showcases the skill of these girls, and even with against a quality team with a quality defense, they were able to carve them up.
Yeah, they play. So I remember this goal because I think I tweeted out. It looked like a FIFA video game moment, just how they one touched it all through. I know I was saying earlier we don't need to talk about this game, but I think in this game you can see even though they lost, you can tell they kind of matured as a team. They took work against Eagle those principles, and they didn't pull off against Lancaster. But I vividly remember the last 10 minutes or so where the Ivy were going at Lancaster goals. Lancaster goalkeeper still in her head. She made some incredible saves, but it felt when it was 4-2, there was a moment there where if Ivy scored, it felt it was going to go from 4-2 to 4-4.
Yeah.
But it just never came because
Lancaster
goalkeeper just in her head and just made I think 2 incredible saves back to back.
I think that's part of why the 4-2. I think, and I feel this way even after I watched the 4-0 against away at Lancaster as well, and I just don't think the actual, if you watch from minute 1 to minute 90, that makes it look like they were blown out, and I don't think they were blown out in terms of the play on the field. I think it comes down to a team who finishes their chances, who creates quality chances and finishes them, which the Ivy just consistently have not hit. They've not converted the chances they've created what is the noun for clinical? The clinicity, the clinicalness.
They did what they had to do.
They just haven't had that, and the Inferno are a team who put the chances they created away at double the rate Ivy did.
Yeah, Lancaster was lethal against the Ivy in both games. You give them half a look, and they would take even in this game. I feel like every single almost all the goals were not because they were breathing down the Ivy's neck and just beat them into submission. It was, oh, you're giving us a half yard. Okay, we'll swing this ball, the back post, and find our player all alone and just be able to tap it in. We'll pounce on this slightly off touch in the defense and punish you here. So I think we go back and look at the stats. There's probably not a ton of saves listed because it's not like there were a ton of shots. They just took full advantage of any opening, and I think that's the difference between a perfectly good team like the Ivy and a strong team like Lancaster. And then there's the levels up because, as Elliot referred to, Lancaster got handed to them 4-0 in the playoffs.
Yeah, steamrolled. Just want to put it out there. No, like I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't one of Lancaster goals like from like way outside the box? Like it was like a turnover, wasn't it? Or I'm misremembering that.
It could be. I went back to check the description, the game recap on the website, and they did not describe the second two goals. The first one was off a corner, and the second was off a throw-in. So in the first half, it was like, lapses in concentration off of set pieces.
Oh, okay. Now the corner one I really do remember because I think me and you we texted at the time, and we were both just saying like how, like that's just like. You really just needed someone to put their head on the ball and just headed it north. Yeah. But the ball just kept like bouncing around, and Ivy just couldn't clear it. And then eventually it just goes to Atlanta Inferno. I think that happened like at least 2 of those in the first half. Like they just couldn't clear it.
Yeah.
And they just they tried to clear it. They just never got to like the second line to get it up the field. But yeah, so like the Ivy, they didn't do themselves any favor in this game. Like they kind of shot themselves in the foot, but they did put a good showing out there for the last game.
Mm-hmm. I thought the first half in particular. I mean, I was just really impressed with their pressing, and I tweeted during the game like, "Wow, Lancaster really haven't had an answer to Ivy's press, like especially when it was 1-1." So it really felt like Ivy had all the momentum, but then you just get that 40th minute goal off a lapsing concentration in the set piece. That's really going to take the sort of the momentum. Especially on a hot night, final game of a really long, not long in terms of time, but a lot of games, really short span of time, tiring season. It's going to then be hard in the second half to keep up, that type of press and possibly get yourself back into it in a meaningful way.
And also, man, like Laura Hargrove, like she can technically claim a clean sheet in this game. She is an outstanding goalkeeper, yo. Like, not even in terms of like just saving. I think like for her, like her mid to like long range distribution is good. Because I was sitting behind the goal like during the second half of the game, and I just saw like some of the balls she was just distributing from like goal kicks and stuff like that. Like she really got a talent there with that.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got to say. I just wanted to say that part.
And then the second Ivy goal came in the 79th minute off of a Kanamata corner, and Kendall Sarver put that one away. And you're right, Elliot. I was kind of feeling like it was kind of like next goal. If Ivy got one more right there in that last 10-minute period, it was game on. But
the crowd was all for it too. Like the crowd was like, it felt like the crowd was trying to push that ball into the net, like to make it 4-3. Because the moment it would have gone 4-3, it felt like, all right, it's going to be 4-4. Like. It felt like that. It felt like it had that kind of vibe to it. But, shouts out to North Carolina U23, who, smacked them. They come out of Raleigh, apparently.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, as it was alluded to, I also think with this being the run-in, playing Lancaster at home, if we play them at a different time of the season, maybe they don't bring their strongest team, but this had playoff implications for them. Ivy were obviously out of the playoff race, so it was really important. Lancaster saw this as a must-win. I think maybe throughout the season, every game's a must-win in this league, but we got them at a time where they absolutely needed to win. They definitely brought the strongest team they possibly could. So kind of have that momentum going against you as well. But I do think both results, when you watch the whole game, the Ivy are not necessarily miles and miles and miles off it. Just that ongoing question of being able to put the ball away was very apparent in this one. And And I think we've gotten to this, but Lauren Hargrove, I think she's also a junior, but I think she redshirted.
Yeah, she didn't play at all last year for Tech, so still unsure if it was injury or just spacing, players out eligibility wise.
So hopefully, her going into her. Hopefully, we get a few more
next season.
Yeah, she's a really good keeper, and I think it would be I know rotation is important in this league in terms of it is a development league. They're trying to develop a roster of players and not just a starting 11, but I would like to see possibly Lauren getting the start in games that are, closer affairs. Maybe we give, rotation opportunities against teams that are lower down in the division, because I think you could see the difference with Lauren in goal than a couple of the other folks that we have on the bench. Not that they aren't good keepers in their own right, but I think that you could definitely tell a difference in terms of goals conceded when we've got Lauren on. So I would like to see, hopefully in the future, availability depending, availability willing, that Lauren could get the start against them, because I don't think the Ivy is that far off from being able to fight for a result.
Yeah. Like, seeing how we played against Eagle, like, we should be contested for the second spot. We really should.
Yeah.
After that, it is what it is. But we should be contested for second.
Because to be fair, in the away fixture at Lancaster, I think there was two non-high schoolers. There were 5 players on the bench and 5 field players on the bench. 3 of them were high schoolers. So the fact that by the end of the game, we conceded, I think, 3 goals in the final final 20 minutes of that game. And we've got 3 high schoolers on the field. I think there were a lot of factors that went into that one. So I do think this team, the score line does not accurately reflect.
Like the top
the
4
team
teams
as a whole. Yeah.
The top 4 teams in this are us, Christos, Lancaster, and Eagle.
And Marauders made a good case for it as well.
Really? I forgot all about them. I'm not.
They would have been one I would have liked to take a crack at later in the season. It's unfortunate that it shook out that we played them.
Oh, that's right, because we lost the away game to them. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that. I did. Like, because I just remember the first game, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like.
Yeah. Right. No, they beat us 4-0.
That's true.
Yeah, wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So but who knows what that might have been if the Ivy actually, were in later season form, later season experience, that result might have gone differently as well. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. We'll see though. There's always production. Hopefully we get production twice in the schedule next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not around next year. I mean, that's mean, but that they don't have any business.
Hey. I need them to be like an NCAA where like the first weekend you play like a FCS Division II school. That's what I need us to do. Like that's the game the high school kids play. They get their warms up. Oh, mommy, I got my jersey. Great. Go run this score by 40. That's wrong.
Well, unfortunately, that was our last Ivy game of the season, but Vinecast will return with a recap, sort of retrospective, the season as a whole. So let us know if you've got any thoughts, any particular areas you're interested in hearing us talk about. I think there were a lot of good trends. We saw a lot of great players. We'll have a lot of fun tracking their college seasons come the fall, especially with how many great VCU players that we've got. Now I actually care. Now I might actually go to a VCU women's game, seeing as there's a couple names and players I'm interested in supporting. So
it's like heresy for you, right?
I know. I guess I'll have to go out to U of R too, support Kylie.
You also got people from Newport down in the 7-5.
Look how lucky we are. We've got all our players right around the corner. Right. But thank you all for tuning in to all of our pods throughout the season. It's been a sprint to get these done. A lot of doubleheader podcast nights.
Yeah. And then we end with a triple header just on cue.
Exactly.
There you go. All right. I'll let you guys later. Thank you for always taking the time out today to listen to our show. And with that being said, like I said, we'll holler at you guys next week. We'll do a full in-depth season wrap-up. You think there's any way we can get Coach K on?
That would be a good
We'll wait to
shout.
find out.
All right, there we go. We'll send the email. We'll see how it goes.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
We will holler at you guys next week. Be easy and be safe.